Hungarian rugby, I will say it now, it's about 10 years away from being absolutely massive.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rugby Through the Leagues podcast. Just want to say thank you to everyone that's been following. I know it's been a little while since the last episode, but we've got a great one lined up. This one's been in the planning for a little while, but we finally managed to get a date in the diary because the man that sat opposite through the internet here, Finlay Harrison, is pretty busy. Was with Henley Hawks, also the youngest head coach of an international side / DOR / kit man, whatever he probably ends up having to do. Finlay, you are obviously part of the Hungarian rugby setup, mate. For those that don't know you, can you just do a little intro? And I think we've got plenty to get into, mate. I think this is going to be a great one.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, my name's Finlay. I'm the head coach of the Hungarian national team. I'm also the director of rugby. Kind of run two roles. It's a really, really great job. I'm only 21. I got appointed when I was just turning 21, so I was 20 when I got appointed. I'm one of the keenest coaches you'll probably meet. My youth comes with a lot of passion and excitement for roles. That's a little bit about me.
How at 21 did this come about?
Yeah. So to be fair, I've been very lucky over my space. So I played rugby until I was 18. And as most coaches, an injury stopped me playing. I really badly did my shoulder, and it's kind of been a ongoing problem. And I didn't want to step away from rugby. I'm so passionate about it. I've been inside Gloucester's Academy, and I just knew that rugby was the environment for me from a very, very young age. And when I left having to play, I just knew I wanted to get straight into coaching, and kind of one role led to another. I was lucky enough to go work at Ipswich School
Nice.
and work under people like Jacob Ford, and then from there I got to do some work at Bury St Edmunds as well. And then when I moved back home, I'm originally from Oxfordshire. I kind of got in contact with the director of rugby at Henley Hawks, Luke Allen. Went there and did analysis, did some skills work, and I met the old head coach of the Hungarian national team, Tom Redfern, and me and Tom are very good mates. He's now the head coach of the Latvia sevens side, and kind of we met there, and he knew that my background is a lot in sevens, and from there we kind of took it off. He introduced me to the president, and as I said, I got very lucky with kind of being in the position I am, and it started from being the head coach of the sevens, and then after the sevens season, they moved me into the 15s, and I do the 15s and the sevens together at the moment.
Yeah, that must be probably the quickest escalation to get to an international head coach role from.
It really was. Obviously, lots of different things go on in the background. I've been very lucky enough to be mentored by some of the best coaches in the sevens and the 15s world. But I know fully well that I'm very lucky, very privileged to be in the position I am. But I kind of want to continue to snatch it up, and I'm young. I know I'm not as experienced as other coaches, but what I lack in experience, I always bring in energy and eagerness to be the best people around.
So, any Hungarian heritage, or is it just
no, none at all? And wow. I think that was definitely a hard thing at the start, was trying to resonate with the boys. And kind of for me, I spent the first 2 months. We'll get into it a little bit, but I wanted to show the boys that I was trustworthy. You're not going to earn people's trust off the start, and not being Hungarian obviously came with that language barrier, but also kind of them being like, well, why are you telling me to be passionate about my own country when you're not from there? But kind of we're at a position now where they understand how much I love this country, and kind of how much I've really chucked myself into the whole way of Hungarian life, but also just kind of respecting their traditions, their cultures and everything.
So did you sort of just go and balls deep, dive in, go and spend as much time as you physically could there to try and immerse yourself amongst it? Or because obviously as you said, it was sort of between two roles, obviously you were part of Henley Hawks, but have you had to try and do as much as you physically can in such a short space of time? How has that kind of worked?
So when I first got appointed, I was working at the Henley College as well, and kind of it got to the point where when I got appointed, I kind of had a chat with my family and my girlfriend, and I was like, right, so this isn't a full-time role at the moment. This is just a freelance role. It's kind of see how the seventh season goes. And I decided to quit my role to go and focus on the rugby. And Hungary flew me out for 2 weeks, and I stayed out in Budapest for 2 weeks, and I got to experience their 15 side, kind of how their teams run. But I also got a lot of time to go and see different parts of Hungary. There's obviously Budapest is probably the most well known to everybody, but there's so many beautiful different parts of Hungary, and being able to go and experience that really helped my role to then when we got into the seventh season. It was a really quick transition. I got fully appointed in around May time, and then June was when the seventh season started. So I had a month to kind of really get everything sorted, kind of learn the Hungarian way, and I would lie if I said it wasn't a challenge, but it's a challenge that I've definitely learned from, and it's definitely put me in the situation. Luckily, we are moving into this seventh season.
Oh, to be young as well, to be able to take that opportunity.
Completely.
Yeah, I'm not going back to work today.
No, I was very lucky. My boss at the Henley College, his name's Josh Barlow. He was really supportive. He's a great guy. Wow. And he kind of understood that it was the role for me, and he was like, let's just go for it.
So when people hear Hungary and rugby together, what should they understand straight away? Because obviously it's probably not, as we know, the game we love, probably not on the top of everyone's list when they think of Hungary. What should they know and understand from when they hear those two together?
Hungarian rugby is a growing sport out there, and I'll touch on the women's a little bit later, but the women's are in an absolutely amazing position. They're really pushing to go into the championship, and that's kind of where it's really over the past year grown. Hungarian men's rugby has been a thing that's grown since around the 70s and the 80s, and they've been lucky enough to they've been ranked in the top 50, and kind of over time they've moved down in the 15s rankings, but as a rugby country, it's not very popular. There's handball out there. There's football. There's American football is very big out there as well as water polo. Like, they're the main sports, and trying to get that as a main sport in Hungary has been a challenge that I'm not the only person to try facing that. The coaches before, people may know Richie Williams, a very famous coach in the English world. He was the Hungarian head coach two before me,
Wow.
and he really threw himself at the job and tried getting it there. And we've really seen now the influx of the young players from there kind of moving in, but trying to get it a main sport with having a good pathway from under 18s is a challenge, but it's a challenge that I am so grateful that the people in Hungary are really tackling so well.
But it sounds like the situation that you inherited was on the right path, rather than you having to rebuild it from the ground up. What's obviously, as your sort of head coach DOR role, what have you now had to sort of embrace from the previous regimes to now bring that next step forward? Because obviously, as we know in the game, we've got to keep moving forward. By the sounds of it, the women's is on the right path, but what have you added to try and change it to the next level again?
It's a great question. And when I kind of came into the national team, it would just there had been a new board appointed, so a new president and that, and right. The board before that were very eager for making Hungarian rugby very big, and I genuinely was so grateful for what they did. And kind of when I came in, I had to deal with certain problems that obviously I'm not going to speak about, but being able to make it a sustainable international rugby country. In the seventh season, there's some really exciting stuff that's going to be announced in the next couple of months from the first time that the national team, this is something that got announced today, we've got sports analysis wow. to now being able to have them get kit that they get to keep. They get it. I took it on in a position where Hungarian rugby was ready to go, and I kind of had to, over the past year, really work hard. Not just me, my team manager Reka, she is absolutely amazing, and we've worked so hard together to find sponsors and be able to kind of get Hungarian rugby to the point it used to be at.
Yeah. So obviously, being of the younger generation, shall we say? I'm saying that from being 35, but have you sort of focused more on the availability of sort of AI analysis, stuff like that, to try and reduce the amount of costs to make that sustainable? Because back in the day, you'd probably have to send a scout out to watch this. You'd have to try and watch that. The benefits of YouTube and Instagram and all these other bits that have probably made it a lot easier for you to scout without actually having to go anywhere? Is that one of the main ones that you've been able to embrace?
One thing that I bring as a head coach that kind of people are like, well, I've never heard of that, is my speciality. I love attacking rugby, but my speciality comes in analysis. So I will lead a team, and I am in charge of how we play, and I will go and watch the opposition. I'll code the opposition, and that's something I really take pride in myself. It's what I've done in every single role I've been in.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just been kind of finding the players is easy. We've got a really well connected team, and there's obviously new people. We're very lucky. We have 6 or 7 people that are Hungarian qualified that play in the national leagues, to play from either Nat 2 or Nat 1. We also have 2 boys playing over professionally in France. We have 2 boys that play for the professional team in Switzerland, and the rest of them play either Bucks Rugby, Super Bucks Rugby, or play over in Hungary.
Nice.
And I'll touch on it in a little bit, but kind of Hungarian rugby, I'd always made a promise that I didn't want to, especially when you go to Rugby Europe, you'll see certain teams will just completely load their team with English boys, which I think is amazing. But I've always promised the Hungarian lads that I was never going to cut them out. I think some of them are absolutely, well, all of them are amazing players.
Yeah.
And they compete at that level. They have consistently for years. They could go over to England. They could go over to France. They could go wherever they wanted. But they stay in Hungary. And I've always made it a rule that at least half the team has to be from Hungary when I bring them over. Because I just think I find it hard morally if I was then to bring in a whole team of English players, and I've left people who are playing in the leagues over in Hungary, growing rugby over in Hungary.
Yeah.
The role models for those younger people, leaving them out of the trophy series each year. It's just it's a kind of a recipe for disaster.
I was really lucky. I had the opportunity to go and sort of spend some time with Rugby Club Luxembourg, and most of those lads are part of the Luxembourg side as well. So I had James Kent on as well, who's their sort of their head coach, and he said most of the players are now recruited within, which is probably one of the best positions that they've been in, because they're Rugby Club Luxembourg. They're playing in the Bundesliga, and then they've got I think they've got 2 other clubs within Luxembourg. So for such a small space. But they've got some other players that go away because obviously they've got to go away for work and stuff like that. But I think when I was speaking to one of the lads, the majority of the squads, like 95% of the squad, can pretty much speak Luxembourgy or whatever the language is as well. With the lads that have probably gone away, come back, and obviously yourself, is most of it done in English at the minute?
Yeah, I think obviously parts of it are English, and the one thing I'm really grateful as well is all of the English-based players who have never lived in Hungary have made a conscious effort to learn Hungarian. It's one of the hardest languages to learn, but brilliant. Certain words like igen, which means yes, and nem, which means no, kind of the basic words. And what I like to do is I'll have my team talk for probably a minute, and then I let them speak in their language. And the English boys say as well is they may not be understanding exactly what they're saying, but they can feel it. The Hungarians are the most passionate human beings I've ever met, and it makes my job so easy. Whenever they put that shirt on, they will die for their country. And I'll touch on it a little bit later about these 2 players, the last trophy series, that kind of really summed up to me. It was an environment that I wanted to keep being a part of, but we let them do their stuff in Hungarian. A lot of the speaking on the pitch is in Hungarian. Obviously, when the English lads are playing as well, it's they understand the trigger words of like when to move it, and it also gives us kind of that advantage if you're playing against English players or you're playing against countries that don't understand Hungarian. When we're saying certain words in Hungarian, they're actually not able to clock on to what it means, and it's a very small tactical advantage. But it's a very big honor to be able to kind of them accept the I only speak English. They allow the team talk to be spoken in English. There are some people that don't understand English in there, and they'll just listen, and then they'll then do the talking in Hungarian. Half-time, especially in the 15s, I'll take a massive step back. I allow them to do their talking. They have 5 minutes of, we call it decompression, where they'll speak about what they want to speak about in Hungarian. It's their comfort language. It's what they understand. Maybe I'll have a chat with the English players whilst they're having that, or there'll be a Hungarian lad who understands English who'll be translating at the same time. Nice. And we just let them kind of be in their country. It's a privilege
Yeah.
for me to be in this position. So why would I then try and dominate it by speaking English all the time to them?
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously, we sort of lightly touched on it earlier, but what are the biggest challenges of trying to grow rugby in what is a non-traditional nation?
There are a couple, and I think that the main one for me is, it's hard to say with the pathway. It's getting there. We've seen people like Zalan Cade, for example, Jean Bourcade. Now both of them are playing professionally in France, who have come through the routes. And I think Estagon are a club. They're one of the biggest clubs in Hungary. They get it spot on. They have age groups all the way up, but it's trying to replicate that across consistently around to then be able to bring that pathway. I've seen, and after speaking, it seems to be once people get to 16, they decide to take up rugby when they've either stopped football or they've kind of maybe stopped whatever sport they were playing. But there's so many good transferable skills. Wrestling's also a massive thing over in Hungary. The ability of, it's one thing that I've found is I haven't had to do much stuff on the jackling side of it or on the breakdown side of it or the tackling side of it, because it's all ingrained for them when they're young. In Hungary, they're taught wrestling from pretty much 4 or 5 years old. They're very passionate. They love their UFC as well. So nice. Kind of their wrestling and their jackling ability is just spot on. It's something that they take pride in, and I embrace it.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things. So I coach here in Spain as well, and trying to coach people that aren't used to physical contact in that to try and make sure you lock over the top of a breakdown or try and make sure you don't get pushed off the ball so easily. That's probably one of the hardest things to try and implement. So if that's their base fundamental and that's their comfort zone, that's the easiest, probably the easiest bit. The passing bit you can slowly work on and teach, but just that raw physicality is really hard to ingrain into someone that's not used to it.
Completely. And I think as well, probably the other challenge, and I won't lie, I'm not fluent in Hungarian, but I'm trying my best. I Duolingo every day, but it's kind of that being able to speak to them is like, I message all of my players pretty much all day, every day, just checking in on them, making sure that they're fine, and kind of getting to know them on a personal level as well, and then having to kind of write it in English or having to get Google Translate to do it, and then being bits of broken, and that's probably another challenge for me. I'm very lucky that my team manager and the president of the union are all fluent speaking in English, but when it comes to speaking to the players that may not be fluent in English, that's probably where my biggest challenge really does come in as well.
At least you're trying to change it rather than just putting your heels in the ground and saying, that's it, like a typical English person would, but just shout and point louder. That might work. But how do you prioritise grassroots versus the elite performance over what is your limited resource? As you said, you want to try and keep 50% roughly of the team from Hungary, which obviously the other lads that are coming in have probably got a different level that they play to on a consistent basis. How do you try and intertwine that without a detriment to the overall goal?
I'm very lucky with the whole new structure, and it's something that I've been very, very proud to kind of that Hungarian Rugby have done. So for years, it's been a Hungarian league where there's 12 teams or 10 teams in the Hungarian league competing, and the same 3 teams finishing on top, which is Esztergom, Hogafalk, and Budapest Exiles. And what they had then now done is they've moved them into something called the Extra League, which consists of 2 Austrian teams, 1 Serbian team, and 1 Slovenian team, I believe it is. So nice. The people that were dominating their leagues as well, and they now don't play in their separate leagues. It's an international league. So that's been a massive point of talk in our kind of industry, is the fact now that they're being challenged against people constantly. Austria's 15s team are exceptional, and the fact that Esztergom, Budapest, Hogafalk get to go out and play against them is helping the players out. The young players is also helping the senior players out. And there's also still a Hungarian league as well, running at the same time. So I'm not going to lie, most of my team selection comes from those three teams.
Yeah.
But there was one that made their debut against Serbia, who came from the Hungarian league as well. So there's definitely the ability to kind of move from elite to grassroots. But we sat down, we came up with a really, really clear goal that we want to win. And
Yeah.
I will, if I can pick the best 13 players, or I can pick the best 23 players that I can, I will. And then I'm constantly watching. I'm very lucky as well that all of the games are filmed over in the leagues. So I'm there. I'm watching the games. I think I've had to tell everybody that Hungarian rugby, people see it as it's not this, it's not that. It really is. That the quality is exceptional. I know that I could pick up pretty much every single person inside my 15s team, and definitely every single person in my 7s team, and drop them in the national leagues in England. They are all very confident and competent players. But now the problem that Hungarian rugby is going to struggle with is being able to then get the next generation of those confident and competent players coming over, and that's a challenge that we're tackling head first. And it's a really exciting time. And that extra, it's called the extra league, it just has made the quality and the ability of Hungarian rugby, Austrian rugby, Serbian rugby just go up completely.
Yeah, so it sounds like they've sort of had like a Super League sort of breakaway Champions League thing, but of a benefit for everyone. Has there been a bit of a detriment though, because have lads tried to leave other clubs to go and play in that upper level? Is there sort of the poaching, not a poaching element, obviously we're not allowed to, but like
no, it's all right.
That's you kind of still a detriment to that league to be able, because obviously they're classed as the big three sort of thing, aren't they? So. Yeah.
And it's something that, again, I'm very open and honest about, is in Hungary, they are very passionate about their clubs. When someone's born in a club and they grow up in a club, they will not move from that club. They will stay at that club.
Nice, and love that.
It's to the point where it's something that's changed since me being in the role, which I'm very grateful for. But people used to rather play for their club team than the international team. But that was not for the reason of they didn't want to play international rugby. That was the fact that they wanted to make sure their team had enough players to fill in and to play.
Right.
So kind of, it's that there are aspects of those better players then do move on to the big three, as you may call it. It's there is always going to be that aspect, but also at the same time is people will love and they'll die for their rugby club. And like the president of the Hungarian Rugby Union is with a team called Kecskemét, and they are in the Hungarian league, and there are boys there that would die for their team, and it's something that really separates Hungarian rugby from, I think, every single rugby club I've ever been a part of. Is you have that, people call it the brotherhood. They'll die for their team and that. But I always challenge them to be like, I completely agree, but wait until you see what Hungarian rugby is like, and that there is a proper brotherhood. They all live together. They all eat together. They all kind of do everything together, and it's amazing. We try and keep it as close as possible. But yeah, sometimes you do get the aspect of people moving on to Esztergom and people moving on to Budapest. But at the same time is maybe after 3 or 4 years when they've played their best years, then they move back to those other clubs.
So that kind of, it works a good and a bad, because obviously they'll be able to take that knowledge and back and help the long-term development. Is that kind of an unintentional progression for Hungarian rugby, that those players go back to their home clubs to help develop the future talent? Because obviously you got to find a way of getting that conveyor belt through. Of, you don't want to keep dipping into expats or overseas players, because you kind of then lose the national identity. There's no growth in that sense as well. And you want to be able to have players that can have a home camp. They haven't got to worry about travelling. They haven't got all these other bits, because as we know, the game that we love, rugby, gets in its own way of trying to make money. And you probably found it really hard to find sponsors to start with. There was obviously probably a certain amount of people that are willing to put their hand straight in their pocket because it's their country. But that conveyor belt will only ever grow if those players are able to go back and impart that wisdom of being part of the national side or part of that upper echelon. Is that kind of one eye that you've got on it? It's obviously not an official party line, but one let's make sure that happens.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's not even just there. It's the players that go off and play in different countries while they come back. And
nice.
like people have the aspect of Hungarian rugby is like 2015 rugby or 2010 rugby, but it's actually it's 2025 rugby, 2026 rugby. They move the ball well. Obviously, there's going to be higher leagues over in France and in England, but the quality is there. But what I do love is how people always help each other out, and it's kind of a case of like I'll use a player called Moses. He plays for another. He played for one club, and he also plays for Esztergom. And he is very passionate for both of the clubs. But he is so smart. He's been inside the national team and playing club rugby for years, and he's always about looking after those younger players, making them better, and then bringing them on. And it's the same, like I said, for literally every single one of them. It's a very with pretty much every player. There's one or two that potentially don't like the idea of new players coming in, but the rest of them absolutely love the idea of nurturing new players, bringing them on and making them better players. And it's exceptional. It's like no other environment I've seen. Is everyone wants the best for everybody, and everyone's like, let's do this, let's do that. I've seen this, let's try this. And it's just exceptional to be a part of, really.
Yeah, it's amazing. So obviously, you've kind of got the DOR role, the head coach role. You've just obviously announced the analysis. You've got a team manager. Have you got other coaches part of your setup as well? And how do you develop other coaches within? Is there like a coaching development pathway for people to make themselves available down the line, or to sort of community rugby? Because obviously Gibraltar and Greece just got accepted.
Yeah.
They've just announced that obviously they're able to do Rugby Europe coaching courses. Is there a long-term vision to develop within Hungary? Because obviously I'm sure they probably love what you're doing, but they probably don't want a long-term solution. They want to promote from within. That's kind of that's the only way the national identity can grow, and taking top class coaches over there to coach them is the only way that will gather pace as well.
The board have got it spot on. There's people, I have nothing bad to say about anybody inside that country. They are so spot on with coach development, first aid. They do so many other courses, the Rugby Europe ones, the World Rugby ones.
Nice.
And there's the refereeing's massive out there as well. The amount of people that leave rugby wanting to be a referee, and the referee qualifications. The pathway is exceptional, and it's not a case in Hungarian rugby, you finish rugby and you're out. There's so many different routes you can go down. There are coaches that obviously have been in their roles for a while, but at the same time, like Esztergom are one of the best teams in the country, and their head coach Darius is he's not young, he's I think he's around between like 20 and 28. He's the head coach. They've been a powerhouse for years. He still plays as well, but he wants to focus on his coaching, and it's something that's come within. And for me, kind of using people like that is amazing. And I can't say too much. Like the Hungarian sevens is the priority, especially under me, and it's somewhere we've always said. And the goal this year is to win a medal at one of the competitions, so to finish third or second or first in one of the competitions. And with the players that we have available this year compared to last year, where we only had 11 players available, and we had to play with 11 players when we were playing in the sevens, to now having over 30 people wanting to play for the country. There's a massive pathway, and the coaches that I have that I'm having communications with, and we're just waiting for them to sign the dotted lines. It's really exciting, not just for myself. I get to work with some amazing coaches, some amazing players, but also the Hungarian players get to play with people who they kind of see as role models inside Hungary, but also some familiar faces, hopefully. So I'm really excited about hopefully the coaching team that I have this year. It makes my job easier, but also I'm very young, and I always have this mindset from when I was 18 all the way until I stopped coaching is you'll never stop learning. I'm never going to take control of a whole thing. I'm all about delegating and making sure different players have different roles, but making sure my coaches have something that they can be accountable for. I think this year I've been like, right, the coaches that I've been speaking to, I've been like, what do you want to be in charge of? I want to get the best out of you guys. and then I'll then kind of slot myself in where's needed. And that's what I feel like is going to create a high performance team. I've spoken to the players. What do they want from the Sevens season? And we built our game plan around that. And I think that's what's going to create our high performance team and our high performance environment, because we've got coaches being held accountable and doing something that they enjoy. And we've got players buying into a system and something that they believe in from the start. And I think that that's what's going to be able to create that buy-in from the start and hopefully win us a medal at some point this year.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm guessing you guys are going to do like the Rugby Europe 7 circuit stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we do the trophy, and 2 years ago they finished fourth, which was their highest place. And the girls finished, I think, third last year.
Nice.
So we're definitely there. Last year we didn't have our best year. As I said, we went to Croatia with 11 players. Yeah. And then after the first day, we lost 2 to injury, and we were really backs against the walls. And as I said, I kind of had to really, really dig deep in that first year of my role. But now being able to, I'm sat down, I'm having chats with the team manager and being like, oh my God, we have 30 players we can pick from this tournament. It's just such a nice thing to be. And then the girls, I don't have too much involvement in the girls. They've got it pretty locked down, and they're really pushing. And I look at the quality of them. They could be a championship team easily.
Does that come under your role as DOR, or have you? It does, but you've kind of like it's already being dealt with. I don't want to ruin it. Sort
of. I kind of when I got appointed, it was especially to focus on the men's with the 7s and the 15s. And when I was speaking to the president about when the appointment happened, I didn't want to tread on any toes inside the girls section, because there are people in that section that have got it spot on. They have a whole team, and they have a whole program which helps the girls get ready for the 7 season. They're not playing 15s, they're just focusing on 7s from September. And for me as a director of rugby, I'm not going to sit there and take credit for what they're doing, because that is all on Gabor and all the other coaches and management that are in it. They're doing a great job, and I don't want to come in and be like, no, I want this, I want to change this, because I've always got a big mindset of if it's not broken, let's not try and fix it. Let's let them do their thing. And I think that what they're doing for not just the country but for the girls inside of it is just exceptional.
I was going to say, it sounds like you've got your work cut out on the 7s and 15s on the men's side, so it's
yeah.
So obviously you sort of lightly touched on it. You've got a way of rugby that you want to play, which was attacking rugby. I'm all in for that. I love that. I try to install that. As you score more points, you win. Simple as that is my mindset. But was there much of an adaptation, or have you had to bring in other coaches? Have you sort of had to upskill lads? Have you had to go and look at other options for players to suit yours, or have you had to just make it fit and develop it over time? How's it gone?
So I sat down after the second leg when we were in Moldova, and I sat down and I went, how am I going to get success in this year? And after speaking with the players and what they wanted, I went in last year, and lots of teams saw it. I wanted to play a really high risk, high reward game, lots of offloads. Didn't want to play the normal style of just moving it edge to edge in 7s as most teams do. I wanted to be different, and it was either going to work or it didn't work. It worked in Croatia. It definitely didn't work in Moldova. And then I sat back and was like, do you know what? How am I actually going to bring their strengths in? And watching the games back and watching the league games back, watching the 7s league game back over in Hungary, the breakdown is somewhere where they come alive. And the transition in Hungarian rugby from breakdown to scoring tries is spot on. And that's definitely something. And every team, I'm not scared to say it, every team that kind of watches us, it would have been something they would have looked at, is how good the breakdown is around Hungarian rugby and how quickly they can transition from defence to attack. And that is kind of where our ID comes in. We want to be known as the best team in transition on the 7 circuit. We want to be known as the best transition team in the 15 circuit. And obviously there's going to be times where it doesn't work, but I'm very keen to continue to build on something that's a massive strength in Hungarian rugby. It's something that the boys love. If I said to them, right, you've got the license. I remember I did it my first game in Croatia. I said, lads, no Jacqueline. We're just going to ice. We're going to go 6+1. We're going to have one in the backfield. And that there was me not being culturally
aware.
I don't know what the word was. I didn't really look into actually how they wanted to play, and you could see they really struggled. They had so many opportunities to go, and then they backed out. And I actually am very lucky for the people that I have, the senior players I have, came down and were like, Finn, this is where we want to come alive, and we're like, right, let's do it. If the players want something, I'm not a coach with an ego. I'm very like, if you want to do this, let's do it. And that's why we've got it on really early on, is over the next probably 2-3 months, we'll install what our sevens game plan looks like, because at the end of the day, if we're doing exactly what they want, I can have boys who are excited to be on the ball, excited to defend, and want to put their body on the line as much as they already do for 14 minutes in intense heat, or 80 minutes in intense cold in like Slovenia. And kind of that's what the culture I wanted to create.
I'm quite surprised to hear that, because like I've taken over a couple of roles, obviously not at international level, but one thing I always learn, even from business, was the first thing I do in a game or in a session was just let them play and then see what I saw and then try to rebuild. Whereas by the sounds of it, you went in and said, right, I just want to try and make sure we don't get scored against, but also then had to find out afterwards that was their super strength. So
Really?
Obviously that's probably one thing you probably wouldn't do again, but do you sort of think, hold on, I'd actually just let them play and then figure it out afterwards now? Is that one of the big takeaways that you can take from being a younger coach, as you say, and just say, yeah, I've probably got that one wrong?
If I've done something wrong or I've got something wrong, I am not afraid to hold my hands up. And
Nice.
I'm a big believer in not being a boss, but being a leader. And being a leader, you respect someone so much more if I hold my hands up and go, lads, I got this wrong here. I should have done this.
Yeah.
But we're not going to dwell over it. How do we fix it? And it's something that I found so powerful early on in my career, just being a bit vulnerable with my players. Not too vulnerable where they can don't want to take advantage, but to the fact where they know that if I think I've got something wrong, or I know I've got something wrong, I'll let you know and I'll be like, I'm sorry. And then I'm all about how do we fix it, instead of then going, no, I said this, we must do that. I've been in changing rooms with coaches like that. I've been as a player, as a coach, and it loses the dressing room. So for me, I've always wanted to build a good relationship up with my players, and having that little bit of vulnerability, something that I was taught actually at the Henley College, was be vulnerable with players, not vulnerable like everyone thinks, but emotionally be like, I got that wrong. Okay, how are we going to get better? And it just brings that extra bit of confidence, that extra bit of leadership into your role. And people are like, you know what, I'm playing for someone that can admit when they're wrong. But also is going to tell you when they're right as well. I know when I'm right and I know what I want. But at the same time, if that then becomes the wrong answer, I'm always happy to go, I've got that wrong. Now, how do we get better?
Yeah, great trait to have, mate. And it'll get better as you get older. Leading on from that then, what is your non-negotiable standards for the players and for the staff? Obviously, you've already sort of put your hands up and said that's where I am at. What do you instill, and what do the players also instill in themselves? What's the non-negotiables as part of the setup?
People are like, non-negotiable, people are like, you must have clean boots, you must do this. But at the end of the day, I've managed to move them. They're not fully amateur players anymore, but they're not professional rugby players. I can't tell them you must have this, you must have that. But there are 3 traits that I want inside a player, and that is passionate, accountable, and honest. Yeah, and nice. Those 3, if I can have that out of a player, they're my non-negotiables. I want someone that's passionate for playing for the country and kind of, well, in any role. I'm very lucky being a country, because normally when you associate a country, everyone wants to play for their country. Everyone loves their country. So the passion always comes, and I'm so grateful for that. The honesty is massive for me. I don't want someone to call me out in front of training and be like, Finn, we don't want to do this. Just have a word with me. I'm constantly having messages or WhatsApps with my players, and they're like, Finn, this happened on the weekend. Tell me, should we do this? Should we do that? And just helps my role out. And just accountability is just like, I'm going to hit the standard. We want to win. Like everyone knows we want to win a medal. I need to be accountable for that. How am I accountable? Everyone knows their roles. Everyone knows what they've got to do. And if everyone can stay accountable, passionate, and can be honest, we will create a high performance environment in ourselves.
Nice. So obviously we've covered the playing identity, the non-negotiables. How are you trying to change the public perception as well? Because obviously to try and build that rugby culture, within what is probably, like every country, a football-dominated country as well. You've got to find that way. Do the media buy into it? Do you get much media coverage, etc.? How does that work over there?
So kind of the way it works is it's something that I've really pushed as well. Being young, I understand social media, and also I'm not afraid to put myself in the spotlight. I want to grow Hungarian rugby. I want people to go, oh, look, Hungary are playing on Rugby Europe, let's watch it. And for me to do that, I need to be able to, not just in Hungary, but in England, in different countries, is go to media outlets, be interviewed, do podcasts to help grow on my side. And then the players are doing a great job at it, as well as the social media presences that they've got, the way they represent their country in their different countries. And like I always say in England is like, the amount of people that watch Hungarian rugby inside England is unheard of. Is always when I'm looking at the end of the year how many percentage of people are watching Hungarian rugby, but that's just come through people being passionate about their friends and their families who play same with Hungary. Is like we have people that travel, like in Croatia we had 5 people travel from Hungary to Croatia to watch the tournament. When we played against Serbia at home, we had a massive crowd, and kind of it's great, but I want to get it to the point. It might not be me, and I've always said this, I want Hungarian rugby, I want to be able to look back if I'm not there in 10 years time, 20 years time, which I probably won't be. I want to look back at it and be like, wow, it's where we wanted it to be. And I always speak so highly of him. Luke Allen at Henley Hawks, he taught me this thing when I first started, is if you can leave somewhere a little bit better than when you first went, then you've done something great. And that's kind of been my thing, is I'm doing everything I can on my side. I will keep promoting it. We'll push it on social media. We'll get more people down. We'll get more people trying out rugby. We'll get more people watching the streams. And from that is where it grows. And the sponsors are helping. We've got some really big sponsors coming in this year, which is obviously going to attract, hopefully, watch time. But for me, in a dream for me, and again, it probably won't be me involved, but I would love to see on the sevens, and they have the ability with the young players they have in, and the quality of players that are Hungarian qualified, is I want to see them at the Olympics in years to come. I want to see them in that championship in years to come. People call it deluded. I remember speaking to somebody who was inside another national team, and he was like, mate, come on, you've got to be realistic. But realistic is comfortable. I don't like being comfortable. I'm always, no matter what environment I'm going to be in, I want to be the best. I want Hungary, whatever 7th team I'm in, but especially Hungary, I want them to be in the Olympics. When I was in National League clubs, I want them to move up to the league. I want them to be a championship team. And if I was just comfortable being like, no, I'm happy being a mid-table team, or I'm happy staying in the trophy series, then that's not what they need. A leader is someone who's passionate and optimistic. And I think at the start, the boys were a bit hesitant, like, who's this crazy guy saying this? But it's something that they started really building into and believing, to the fact now where instead of having 3 or 4 players that believe that we can win a medal this year, to now having 13, 14, all the way up to the 30 players that are involved being like, no, we are going to win a medal this year, to, oh, right, in this many years' time, is Hungarian rugby going to be in the Olympics? People believing that. That's what I want. And I always am a very optimistic person, no matter what I do. But I'm a passionate, optimistic guy, and I want the best for the country. And I'll continue to push for it, and I'll always be optimistic and grow, and I'll come on podcasts, and I'll do media outlets showing them kind of what Hungarian rugby should be like, and just come and watch it. Give it a watch. When we're playing, just watch it on the stream. If you don't like it after 15 minutes, which I highly doubt you won't like it, right, then turn it off. But as long as you're watching, showcase how exciting Hungarian rugby is, and also how physical it is.
Yeah. It's very much like the All Blacks, isn't it? Where you've got to leave the shirt in a better place than you took it on. So, funny enough, you said that about people buying into what you say. I previously interviewed Thomas Appleton, the Portuguese captain.
Yeah.
And he said in the lead up to the World Cup, they were however many days out from playing Wales, I think it was, in the opening game.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day in camp, he went in and he said, we're going to beat Wales. And everyone was like, fuck are you talking about, you lunatic?
Yeah.
A week later, 2 or 3 of them started doing it. But a month or so into the camp, everyone was saying, they obviously lost, but everyone started buying into it.
Literally.
And then they still got one of the best results in the tournament, obviously getting the draws and getting into that position. But it's, as you say, it's momentum. Once one person picks onto the other person, it gathers and it gathers and it gathers, and there's not just one person that's passionate about it. It's then a whole group, and a group can make that change. It's harder to do it one person, but once you get everyone to buy into it, you crack on
completely. And I will go down fighting from my last day with the Hungarian Rugby Union to the fact that, do you know what, I will say it, this could be one of the best teams in Europe. We're ranked in the top 20 for sevens at the moment. Yeah. This is obviously me speaking sevens. So we're top 20. Why can't we be in that top 10 in 3-4 years' time? And there were some sour apples about it, and they're not involved in the setup anymore. I would rather have 30 players who believe in one goal, who are passionate, over-optimistic, because if you believe in something so much, you'll make it happen. I'm a big believer in that. And I've got 30 boys who believe in that right now, and believe, even if we don't go out, I'll still be proud because it's been something we believed in, and it's just something they're passionate about. I get messages, people are excited about it. There's a buzz around Hungarian rugby. We've got boys wanting to get back into it, and that for me, it's just exciting. And there's more media outlets wanting to interview Hungarian rugby players and Hungarian rugby coaches. There's more people wanting to have chats with people inside the union. It's Hungarian rugby. I will say it now. It's about 10 years away from being absolutely massive, and it has the ability, it has the players, it has the staff. Like how hard the staff work. I can name like Erica, Breaker, Powell, those three. There are so many more. They are the hardest working people I have ever met, and that is all because they're going for one cause. With the women, with the men, they all have one goal, and they're like, we're going to do this. And it's just such a good energy to be around.
That's amazing, isn't it? There's so much, makes your job easier to try and be that optimistic when you got mood hoovers around that want to try and suck the joy out of everything and just happy for mediocre. You can't. You sometimes, even if they are the best player around or the best whatever, you've kind of just sometimes got to cut them loose because they will drag everyone else down with them. Right. So obviously, sevens waxing lyrical at the minute, mate. Obviously, real big targets with the 15s in the Rugby Europe competitions. What do you think's the main gap between them and teams above or teams below? What bits do you think you've got to refine to take to the next step? What have you got to make sure you safeguard so you don't slip down the table at the sacrifice of sevens? Because a lot of nations are one or the other, and you don't want to fall into that model of I've had to sacrifice this for that. You want to try and push all of it together, don't you, really?
Completely. And like with the 15s, I think we're 78th in the world, right? And then with the sevens, we're 20th in Europe. I don't know what we are in the world for sevens, but the way that I look at it is just being able to be sustainable and being able to get to where Belgium are, for example, or where Poland are, for example, where they can do dual. But at the same time, it's just being able to go, right, we'll hold our hands up. We don't have the money compared to these countries. Yeah. They don't have a lot of money either. I'm not saying that they're absolutely minted. No. European rugby, there's not a lot of money. But the thing that will help us get there is being able to fly the free French players out to come and play in the national team, as well as the English boys, as well as the 2 lads that play in Australia, etc. Being able to bring those boys in to potentially not fill gaps, but to increase the skill level. But when you've got boys that are full-time in France anyway, not even England can get players that are full-time in France. And then with the English players,
the Spanish team, obviously I did the November internationals. I'm going to the Rugby Europe Championships as well. I'm going to Amsterdam in 2 weeks' time for the Netherlands against Spain as well to sort of do a bit of media around it. But Joe Merkler playing for Toulouse turns up, does one game against England A, then disappears again, and you get sign off for a certain period of time, and
it's killer.
It's trying to generate players within as well. That's the key bit. Like as we said earlier, like you've got to get that experience out to try and keep them within arm's reach to say, actually, you don't need to go to France. You can stay here and do the same sort of model.
Completely. And the Hungarian players that are based in England, the ones that qualify, are either at very well paid Hungarian, very well paid National League clubs, very well paid other clubs, maybe regional leagues, to the fact they're like, right, okay, I would love to play for my country, but I can't afford it. And we'll pay for their flights, we'll give them care, we'll give them food. But sometimes it's like, oh, I can't take 4 days off work. I'm a big believer. They need to have their life. They're not full-time athletes. So me saying, right, we're going to do a 1 week training camp before a game against Serbia just isn't fair. Serbia are able to do it, and other countries are able to do it because they have either full-time coaches, or they have players that are full-time, or they have a big sponsor that's happy to cover their wages. But Hungarian Rugby at this moment aren't at that point, and we're happy to say that. And we compete against teams when we're not in that position. And I think until we're able to have the money, and it's probably such a normal answer that you get in these situations, but until we have the money, it's going to be really hard to compete, because I can't expect every single lad to take a week out of work unpaid to come and play for the country because they love it. They can do that for the seven. They'll either have to pick the sevens or the 15s. And I want to be able to get to a stage where, right, we're a comfortable 15 side, which we are. We're going to win games. We're going to lose some games, but also can we be a really successful seven side? And the benefits that I've got, I can't say at the moment, it hasn't completely been announced, but the sevens were moving in that direction where people can take time off work and stuff like that. But the 15s wise, it's hard, because getting that buy-in, especially, as I said, how passionate people are about their clubs over in Hungary as well, and then getting people to kind of play for the country or travel to Slovenia or away and then come back and then work the next day, that's where my difficult bit comes in.
Yes. It's that fine margins. So I think this pretty much answers my next question. Is promotion a realistic goal, or is it all about consolidate at the 15s level? We know that you're balls deep for sevens at the minute, but 15s, is it, if it happens, brilliant. But realistically, you've just got to stay in your own lane while you develop all the other bits around it.
The playing is going to be a factor of what I'm doing off the pitch, and I'm a big believer that Hungarian Rugby can push. And I'm never going to stay in a role. I'm going to stay in this position, or I want to get demoted. I want to push Hungarian Rugby on to the most I can. And we lost to Serbia, and we did lose to Slovenia by like 3 points. So it's going to be hard for us to go up this year. But that doesn't say that we can't do it next year. We've got so many boys, and I hate just saying the sevens is the goal, because it's not, because that counts out so many players for the 15s. The front row is a lad called Jude who plays over in England, who travels from England to Hungary to come play in the 15s. He is absolutely amazing. He is one of the best scrummagers I've seen. He'll turn someone inside out. But if I said to him, right, we're already focusing on the sevens, that's not fair on him. No. I want to be the best 15s team as well as the best sevens team, and I will put every single second of my spare time into making it a better country and to making it a successful rugby team, or more successful. It is successful at the moment, and I'm lucky I have a great employer as well. The company I work for are amazing, and I used all my annual leave for my time out in Hungary, as much to my girlfriend's dislike. But we get her out there, and she comes to the different countries. But it's being able for me to have that balance, but also for me to go. We are going on for the 15s. We do want to get promoted, because if we're not ambitious, we're just going to continue to move down and down and down. Hungarian Rugby was once ranked 48th in the world. So how do we get back to that spot? Yes, the skill level has gone up massively since then, but at the same time, why can't we be there? Why can't in 3 years' time, if I'm in the role, if I'm not in the role, why can't Hungarian Rugby be there? Because it has the players. It definitely has the players. It has the passion. It has the staff behind it. So what is it needs to be done? And that's what I'm figuring out at the moment. And it's a harder job than actually most people think. And I'm very passionate to get us to a position where we have the sevens who are absolutely flying. Maybe that's something that I focus on, as where my speciality comes. And then I overlook the 15s, but I've got someone else helping with the 15s who can really go, I'm a wise head right here. I understand 15s, because again, I always hold my hands up. I know how rugby's played. I feel like I'm a very good rugby coach, but at the same time, having that experience of somebody who's been there and been able to do it consistently over years and years and years, doesn't go amiss with the boys as well. The boys would probably absolutely die to have a really experienced coach to go in the 15s as well and be like, this is exactly what we're doing. Because when we went to Slovenia, I didn't have any assistant coaches. It was just me. I was running around like a headless chicken. We were warming up. I was then doing scrum primers, and then we were going over. We're back doing high ball stuff, and kind of then having someone who can really focus on the 15s, and I can help them, and then having me focus on the 7s. It would then kind of make Hungarian rugby in a really good position and keep people accountable to go, this is what I'm in charge of. Now let's make it really good.
Nice, yeah. Because when I was speaking to James Kent, he sort of got the same setup now within Luxembourg. He's obviously managed to get Jamie Cudmore over there as well, and adding some exceptional coaches there to help push that forward. But he inherited what was in a bit of a on a up turn, but also in a back turn at the same time. There was a few ups and downs, but they're starting to steady the ship. And it sounds like you've sort of inherited Hungary in that they want to upgrade, but still trying to purse string it as well. It's a fine balancing act. If you could change one thing tomorrow, what would it be? Apart from just a massive blank check that will get you whatever you want.
Yeah, more pay would be great. No, I think for me, there's not too much I would change. I think for me, it would be probably having more buy-in from the uppers of the older players. I've definitely built that trust with the younger players, and it's grown massively. But if I could change one thing, I would really want everybody to believe in this goal that I have.
Yeah.
If that could be it, I know I'm in the dream setup right now. I absolutely love this country. I think that the people that play inside of it, the people that qualify for it, are genuinely some of the greatest human beings I've ever met. And I would genuinely go to war for them. And I know that pretty much all of them would go to war for me. And that is amazing. But if I could have just those older players to really believe in that one goal, it would make me the happiest person on the circuit, because I see so much potential in this team. I see so much potential in the country, and everyone else sees it. But then if we can have some more experienced heads to go, you know what, I actually see this. How can I benefit? I'm going to do one more year and help out. I'm really lucky. I've got one of the ex-players who's older. He's going to play. He's going to be a player coach. If I can have more players like that who really want to continue to grow Hungarian rugby with me and believe in this goal, that would be the one thing I would change.
Love it. I wouldn't take it personally though, mate, because there is a lot of older generation or just older people don't like somebody younger coming in and
completely. I've definitely learned that, but I've always ran to the point with them where. And with everybody, it's probably my biggest thing that I've held back is the moment people find out my age, they go, "What are you doing, telling me how to do this?" And I'm a very big believer in I'm passionate, right? I may not have that experience, but I want to listen to your ideas. I want to get to the position you want to get to. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm good at, and let's get someone in. Or can you help me with what I'm not good at to make this country the best it can be?
It will come. Completely. It's obviously just takes time. Finn, it's been amazing, mate. I really appreciate your time.
Cheers.
One last thing, then we'll leave it on this. We'll leave it on this one. What message would you put out to players, coaches, potential sponsors, anyone that wants to be involved in Hungarian rugby? What is the biggest selling point, and how do they get in contact with you?
Completely. I think so. Just believe. I think if you're just somebody sat at home, or if you're somebody sat in the boardroom, just believe in the goal. I think sponsors, you'll see what we have to offer, what we want from this country, and you'll want to be all over it. And for the players that potentially are Hungarian qualified, it's an amazing thing to be a part of. And I will continue to fight every single time for you guys to have the best experience, to you to have guys to have benefits. And I know the board and Reiki, the team manager, will do that as well. But I think if my last message to everybody who's watching this is just believe and getting behind Hungarian rugby. It would mean the world to me, but I know it would mean the world to the players as well. They put their body on the lines. I had two boys. One person played on a severed hip throughout the whole of last year in the Sevens tournament, but didn't want to drop out because he loves the country. That's how passionate these boys are, and they will continue to fight until their last breath. So all we ask is getting behind Hungarian Rugby, show us some love, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and let's get in behind and really show what Hungarian Rugby can be.
Love it. By the looks of it, you've got some decent stash there as well. So.
Yes, I do. You can get us in the airport as well now, which is great.
Got to love a bit of stash. For everyone that's been watching, everyone that wants to know more, obviously, as Finley said, we've got it Instagram, Facebook. This will be on every platform. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure you drop a message to Finn, say everything how good you've enjoyed this episode, and go and share the love with Hungarian Rugby. For us as well at Rugby TTL, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all of that good gubbins. We are still here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to try and spread more of the word about Rugby Europe and every other bit that we get to cover. Thank you for joining us. It's another week. It's another one done, and we'll see you next time.